Okay, guys, I'll give you a quick recap of the previous two sessions. So we discussed about SAP ERP. What is SAP ERP? SAP is a ERP product, right? Which contains predefined functionalities to run the business, like sales, purchasing, finance, human resources, plant maintenance, production planning, right? Related to all these functionalities, core business functionalities, SAP provides ERP solutions. What is ERP? ERP means Enterprise Resource Planning Software, right? Enterprise Resource Planning Software. So, which helps to run the organization, right? So, ERP softwares helps to run the organization. It improves the business performance. It provides better integration between different departments, right? So right, there should be integration between sales and finance, sales and purchasing department, sales and production planning department, finance and human resources department. There should be some better integration between all these departments, better communication, right? To run the business, to run the business process. If there is any delay, lack of proper communication that leads to
Damages the business.
yeah, no, yeah, maybe damages or poor performance, right?
Yes,
For
sir.
example, sales department took some orders from the customer. Take some Toyota. They have taken order for 100 cars, which should be delivered by September, right? And
Yes, sir.
they did not update properly about that bulk order to the production planning department. What will happen? Production planning, like who works in the factory, who used to manufacture the products, they may not prepare well for this bulk order. They may not recruit more resources to handle this bulk order, right? And
Yes,
if
sir.
production planning department did not have better integration with human resources, what will happen? Human resources may not provide resources, right? Who have expertise in manufacturing the cars for the production planning department, right? With limited resources, with limited employees, production department cannot manufacture all this total order within the given time, right? For example, to manufacture a car, what is required? Raw material is required, right? To manufacture any product, we need a raw material, correct?
Yes, sir.
To manufacture a car, what is the raw material? Steel,
Iron.
yeah, iron, some aluminum components, fiber, plastic, tires, right? Lights, leather seats, right? Lot of
Yes, sir.
sensors, lot of electronic sensors. All these things are required. Paint, right? If you take Toyota, they won't manufacture everything. They won't manufacture tires. They won't manufacture lights. They won't manufacture paint, right?
Sir.
They manufacture only a finished product, that is car. To manufacture that finished product, what they need? Raw material. They need to buy all this raw material from vendors, right? One vendor is
Yes, sir.
specialized in paints, right? The other vendor is specialized in tires, right? Like that, Toyota has to procure or purchase all these raw materials from different vendors, right? So when the
Yes, sir.
purchasing is completed, what is the next step? We need to pay, right? We need to pay the vendors, right? For the raw materials, whatever we purchased. If we don't have better integration between this purchasing department and finance department, there will be a delay in payments, right? To the vendors.
Yes, sir.
If there is any delay, right? If there is any delay, overdues, vendors might file lawsuits, cases, right, on the company. They might file a case in the courts also, right? It will damage the reputation of the company, correct?
Yes, sir.
When the company uses a robust system with better integration, so we can avoid all these communication delays or loopholes in the business, so that business performance will be improved, right? So our
Yes, sir.
ERP, currently we are talking about SAP ERP. As I said, there are many ERPs in the market, but out of those all ERP softwares, which is the most successful ERP? What is the most successful ERP software? SAP, right? SAP is the most successful ERP in the software market. That's why every large organization are going to use SAP as their ERP software,
It's ERP software.
right? If you go to
Yes,
any
sir.
large organization, any MNC, they should run on SAP, right? And what is ABAP? What is ABAP? Currently, we're all learning ABAP, right? What is ABAP? ABAP is a fourth generation
Advanced
Programming.
business
programming
process.
language, fourth generation programming language, which is used to enhance the SAP applications or create the
Create the
custom
customer.
applications. Custom
Custom
applications.
application.
Enhancement means adding additional features without disturbing the existing
Standard
functionality,
elements.
standard functionality provided by SAP, right?
Yes, sir.
And what is custom objects, custom developments? When we don't have suitable application for our business process, so we can create our own applications using SAP ABAP, right?
ABAP. Yes, sir.
Let's say there is one application, so our company need one application to create the employee onboarding details, new employees onboarding details. For that we need an application, right? Some application. If SAP provided that application without any development effort, we can start using it, right? So no development required or anything. HR department can start using that applications, right? If HR department needs some additional features to that application, maybe 80% of the functionality is matching to our current requirement, but only we need 20% additional requirements. At that time, which method we need to follow? Do we need to enhance the standard application or do we need to create the custom application?
Create the custom application.
Why? 80% of the functionality is already available, right, in the standard application. Only 20% of the additional functionality is required. We can simply enhance the standard application, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, along with the 80%, we can enhance this 20% of the additional functionality, right? Instead of creating from the beginning a custom application from the beginning. Similarly, we have a lot of standard applications, but all of them, like, we don't have suitable application which fulfills our business requirement, even 20% or 30%. At that time, what we need to do? We need to create our own application because the existing business functionalities are not suitable for our requirement. Okay, at that time we go for complete custom development. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
That is about ABAP. ABAP is a programming language, fourth generation programming language we use to create the SAP applications, right? As we discussed earlier, if you take a project, if there are 10 resources in a SAP project, who will do the maximum contribution in ERP implementations? SAP ABAP developer. Okay, 60% of the resources will be SAP ABAP developers in the project. Okay,
Okay, sir.
and in SAP we have a lot of functional modules. Each functional module deals with that specific functionality. related to sales. MM means material management, nothing but purchasing. FI means finance. PM means plant maintenance. Each functional module will have one functional consultant. What is the role of that functional consultant? Analyzing the business requirements and provide the specifications to the ABAP developer, right? Whatever the functional module it is, right? Who will do the developments related to all these functional modules? If there are any enhancements or custom applications, who needs to handle the developments?
ABAP.
ABAP developer. These functional consultants will provide you the inputs. What is the application they need? What are the inputs? What is the logic? Everything functional consultant will provide. Okay. By using that inputs, we need to develop our applications. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And SAP follows three-tier architecture. Three-tier nothing but we separated the SAP server into three different layers. First one is presentation layer. Here we just pass the inputs and return the outputs, right? Example for the real world example for presentation layer is any of your Gmail, Facebook, right? All of them are presentation layers where we don't install anything in our system. We can just go to some screen and enter the details and access the data, right? They're all presentation layer. In SAP also we have a presentation layer that is called SAP GUI. We call that SAP GUI. From here we can access SAP applications. Looks like that servers are missing here. I'll add the servers. So by using this SAP GUI, we'll access the SAP applications. Are we installing the server in this system? No.
No, sir.
Server will be somewhere, right? Are we installing the programs in this system? No. We are not going to install programs or database in our system. We'll just use application layer. Application server will be maintained somewhere in US. Database server might be maintained somewhere in the Singapore, right? Are we directly, when we are working on the application, do we need to worry about the database, backend database? As a web developer, you don't need to worry much about the backend database. Backend database might be anything, right?
Yes, sir.
It won't change how you develop the applications, okay? Because whatever the statements we write in ABAP, they are database independent, right? Whatever the programs we write in ABAP, they are database independent. They should work on any database, right? If it is ECC, if it is ECC, ECC is the previous version, right? Previous version. What is ECC? ECC supports any database. It is database independent. In previous versions, SAP can support any database. Here, what SAP develops? Application server, application programs. All the business logic will be developed by SAP, but where the data will be stored, that is in the database. That is in the database in the form of tables, right? To access the
Yes, sir.
data in previous version, that is in SAP ECC, we might use any database. Oracle, HANA. HANA is a SAP's own database. DB2, MS SQL Server. Any database we can use just to store the data. What is the purpose of database?
To store the data.
Let's say this is some application. This is one application screen which we created in SAP, right? So now we entered some data here. Let's assume this is employee ID and this is employee name, right? Some address and When we click on create, what will happen? Where we access this? Where we access this screen? Where we access this screen? In which server? In which application? In which layer? In presentation layer, we access this screen. That is GUI. Or in presentation layer, we access this screen and we enter the data. User enters the data and click on create. Then what will happen? Then a corresponding program, a corresponding ABAP program in application server, it will accept the request. Application server accept the request from presentation layer. When click on create, a request will be sent to application layer, and here corresponding program to create the employee data application will execute. Let's say this is program to create employee data, right? A program will execute here. A program will execute here in the application layer, right? Then what this program will do? It will validate the data. It will validate the data. And where we need to store this data? Do we store that in application server?
Sir,
No, sir.
No, we store the data in database
Database.
server.
database.
We access data only in runtime. When the program is in running state, then we access the database and do the calculations. Rest of the time, data will be permanently stored in
Database.
database, right? Now, this program will execute, and it will execute the validations and database statements, and this application program post the data to corresponding database
Database.
tables. There might be one or more tables where we post the data. Table 1, sorry, it posts the data to table 1, table 2, table 3. For example, this table is for employee master table, where it stores the employee master data, right? Let's assume this table for EMP salary data, this table for employee attendance data. So this single program can post the data to multiple tables or single table. That is depends on the requirement. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir. Yes.
So this is the presentation layer where we access the application and provide the data and enter. When we click on the for example, when we click on the create, a corresponding program for this screen, there should be a program, corresponding program in application layer. What does this application layer contains? Programs, right? Each business process or each functionality will contains a corresponding program in application server, and that program in application server will post the data to database. This is database. This is database. These are the tables inside the database. Okay. In ECC,
Yes.
this database can be anything. In ECC, this database can be anything. Depends on the customer requirement. They can install any database. Or they can use HANA also. These are all other companies' databases, third-party databases, right? HANA is a SAP's own database. SAP's own database. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But after S4 HANA, like when SAP come up with S4 HANA, what is the database that we are using? Only HANA database. In the recent version of SAP ERP, that is S4 HANA, what is the database that we are using in S4 HANA?
Yes, for HANA.
not S4 HANA. S4 HANA is the ERP, right? S4 HANA is the version of the ERP, SAP ERP. HANA is the database. HANA is the database. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So SAP stopped using third-party databases, other databases from S4 HANA onwards. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
This is example to create the data, right, in database. So here we are using a screen to create the employee data in SAP ERP, right? Now, after some time, my HR manager want to see employee data, want to check some particular employee's data, okay, which is already available in SAP ERP system. Then we need an application, right? Let's say let's say we need to create one application for that. How that application will be? For example, we'll create one application. Employee ID is the input. I have a button called find. User can enter. Here the user might be some HR department people. I'll enter employee ID and click on find. What will happen next? Corresponding
The
program, corresponding program to find employees, will execute here. Application server, right? A corresponding program to find the employees will execute in application server. And what is the next step? From where this program can fetch the data?
from the database.
Database.
This program needs to connect with the database and it needs to read data from the tables, one or more tables, depends on the requirement. There might be 10 tables also. Sometimes we need to read 10 tables also. And we read the data from the database tables and returns to presentation layer here. In the form of output. Okay. The output will be like this. Employee ID. For example, some department. Some SAP department. Your output will be like this, right?
Yes, sir.
This is reading. We are reading the data from database, SAP database, right? But whatever the programs we are writing here, right? As ABAPer, all your program, like whatever the application program you are writing here are database independent, right? SAP recommends to write your code or your program that should be database independent. You should not write any statements specific to any database because currently we are using HANA, right, as a database.
Yes, sir.
Maybe after few years, SAP might come up with some advanced database which provides faster performance than HANA, right? Then SAP will simply replace HANA database with, for example, HANA 2. They'll replace this HANA database with the HANA 2 database. Now, if you write programs specific to HANA database, what will happen when we replace the HANA database with HANA 2 database, a advanced database or a different database? What will happen? The programs, whatever you implemented, whatever you created for HANA database are not going to work, right? Because database is changed, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's why SAP recommends always write statements, database independent statements. You should not write any statement specific to backend database, right? So whatever the statements we write in ABAP programs will automatically converted into backend database. We don't need to worry about it, but we need to write database independent statements. Okay? Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Clear.
sir.
Because there might be changes in the backend database anytime, right? When we change the database, there should not be additional work to change the programs also, right? If you change the database, if you write any database specific statements in the programs, you need to change all the programs also. It will take time, right? It will take time for development. It will take time for testing and everything, correct? That's why SAP always recommends to write database independent statements that they are, we call open SQL statements. What is the SQL we write in ABAP? What is the SQL we write in ABAP? Open SQL. What is the SQL?
Open
Open
SQL.
SQL. That is database independent SQL. SAP system will handle that conversion. Depends on the backend database. SAP system will take care of converting that open SQL statements into database specific statements. In background, that will happen, right? What is native SQL? Native SQL is database specific. Okay. What is native SQL? Native SQL is database specific. So SAP recommends not to use native SQL statements. Okay. Not to use native SQL statements. We should always use
Open SQL
open SQL
statements.
statements. These open SQL statements will be converted into native SQL statements in background. You don't need to worry
They
about it.
convert.
SAP system will take care of it, converting open SQL statements into native SQL. Okay. Depends on the backend database. Okay.
Yes, sir. Clear.
ECC is the previous version, and current version what we are using is SAP S4 HANA. As I said in the previous sessions, since current version is S4 HANA, that doesn't mean that we should not learn statements related to ECC, because there are a lot of clients, there are a lot of organizations still using SAP ECC. They did not migrate to SAP S4 HANA yet. Okay, that's why we should be familiar with both SAP ECC related statements and S4 HANA advanced statements. Because when you join in a company, right, there is no guarantee that you are going to get a project which is on SAP S4 HANA. There might be hundreds of support projects. There might be hundreds of support projects where you need to work on SAP ECC also. Okay,
ECC also.
you know how support projects will work. In few support projects, you may need to work 1 or 2 hours a week. In some support projects, you may need to work 1 or 2 hours a week. How many work hours in a week? If you take 9 hours a day, 45 hours a week, right? Out of these 45 hours, in some support projects, we need to work only 2 or 3 hours. That's what the work we get if there is any issue, right? But why do they pay us the salaries? Because we don't know, right, when that issue will come. There should be a developer available. Whenever there is a issue, the developer needs to debug and fix the issue, right? In some support projects, you might have a lot of issues. You may need to work overtime, more than 9 hours a day. That is also possible. When you go to implementation project, you'll have continuous developments. You need to utilize all of your working hours, like 9 hours a day, if it is an implementation project, because you'll have complete continuous developments until the project go live is completed, right? So which one you guys prefer, implementation or support projects? You guys prefer bench?
No, that's I'm
Without a
going to
project,
Support.
implementation project.
without a project, we got salary. We'll get the salary in bench. Yeah. For support project, you should have good debugging skills to find the issue. Okay. Anyway, we are going to learn everything. I'm just providing you some inputs. Okay. Now we'll see what is ABAP and what is SAP. So these are the few keywords what we use in ABAP. So we'll go by very basic keywords so that you can understand very easily how to create a application program. Okay. So don't keep any negative impression on programming, right? ABAP is not that much complex programming because we use OpenSQL, right? It is simplified. It is very simple when you compare with some native SQL statements, right? If you start practicing from the beginning, you can easily understand the ABAP statements. Let us go to, do you want to see how to log in the server? So to log in the SAP server, the current server what we are using in projects, there might be different login options. Wherever you go, you need to find for this SAP GUI to access the SAP applications. What is this? SAP GUI. Here we need to maintain all the servers. By using the servers, you can log in into SAP system. Okay. Let me provide you the details, one more detail of the SAP servers or SAP systems. I'll provide you a simple landscape of any project. This is not specific to SAP, but usually how system landscape will be in projects. In any projects, servers will be like this. Development, test or QA. What is this server? Production, production server. So in development server, developers will do create new applications or changing the existing applications, enhancing the standard applications will happen in development server. Once the development is completed, what will happen? What is the next phase? The developer will do basic testing, some basic testing. What is the testing? What is the name of the testing? Basic testing, what developer will do? TUT,
Technical unit testing.
technical unit testing or
Unit
simply unit
testing.
testing. The developer will do some basic unit testing and move this application to which server?
Testing server.
Test server or QA.
Testing server.
Here,
Test server or QA.
here
Testing server.
developer will,
Server.
please mute. A developer will, sorry, here we have a dedicated testing team. The testing team will test the application. They do some negative testing, positive testing, regression testing. They'll apply different testing scenarios and They provide the test results. If there is any issue and if they find any issue in the application, what will happen? The development will be returned to which system?
Development system.
Development system. Again, developer will fix that issue and hand over it to test system
Test team.
until all the issues are resolved. Test QA team or testing team provided the approval or sign off. Then it will be moved to production system. Once the complete testing is once the sign off is provided by the testing team, it will be moved to production system. So we'll be having three different servers in any SAP landscape: development server, test server, and production server.
Production server.
Looks like I'm talking in mute. Sorry. So this is how we create the server. Double click on the server to access it, to access SAP. So what are the details available here in SAP logon? What are the details you can see? User ID and password, right?
Password.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
all of you are familiar with these details, user ID and password. These are common to any application. You should have a valid user ID and password available to log in into SAP. Who will provide these login details? SAP Basis team, SAP Basis consultant. He is the responsible, he or she responsible for system administration activities. They have to create our login. They have to provide our access. Okay. So SAP Basis team is responsible for providing these details, including the server details. Okay. But in most of the projects, these servers will be already configured in SAP GUI. You don't need to worry about it. Okay. In our case, we have SAP S/4HANA 2021 version, right? We logged in. We provide the user ID and password. What are the other details you can see here?
Language, sir.
Log on language. Log on language. What is log on language? In which language you want to access the SAP? In which language you want to access the SAP? In the previous session, I've explained you that SAP can support many languages, right? Not only English.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you go to Saudi or any Arab countries, they won't access the system in English. They'll use their own native languages. If you go to China, they use their native Chinese language, some Mandarin or something. If you go to Japan, do they use English? No, right? They use
No,
Japanese
sir.
as their native language in their daily communications, right? If you go to Germany, they use German, right? That's why SAP is designed to support any language. So if I am an English user, if I am familiar with English, I'm going to choose English language and log in. For other countries, if I am from Germany, I use DE. DE is nothing but German. German language code is DE. JP is Japanese. Like that, we have different languages. Okay, depends on the user preference. He can choose the login language. Now, what is a client? It is very important. Please observe carefully. Client. We have a client numbers starting from 1 to some 900, right? Client is nothing but logical partition of the system, logical partition of the SAP system. If you take landscape, we have DT1, right? DT1, what is DT1? Development system, right?
Development system.
Here we have clients from 1 to 900. You can log in with any of these numbers, but that should be configured in between, like before, that should be configured by the system admins so that we can use that specific client. For example, in any project, there will be generally we use two clients. One is for development. For example, take it as 100, and another one is for 101. What is this two clients for? One client is for development, the other client is for unit testing. The other client I use for unit testing, because in development system I don't maintain any data. I'll just do my coding. In 101 system, we'll have some test data to test our applications, right? We maintain two different clients in general in any SAP project, right? So the client should be starting from 1 to 900, in between 1 to 900. Depends on the project requirement. There might be multiple clients in the same system, right? So whatever the data, tables, programs in this current DT1 server or development server are common to both clients. Both clients. Okay. What is a client? Client is logical partition. Client is logical partition. For example, I'll tell you other example, but we don't follow that in the real time business. For example, there is one company, let's say Tata Group. Let's say there is Tata Group. How many businesses they have? They are into many different businesses, right?
Yes, sir.
Tata Motors, Chroma, what else? Tata Beverages. What are the other business? Tata Steel, right? They do many. They have many
Businesses.
organizations. They do many business. Let's say they have a SAP server. They have a SAP server, and they want to use same SAP server for all their business. But usually that won't happen. Only small organizations will follow that. Every large organization will have separate SAP server for each business. But if they want to use same server for their all the different businesses, what they need to use, how they can separate their system for each business by assigning a client for each business. For example, for Tata Motors, they use client 100. For Tata Steel, they use client 101. For Chroma, they use 102. For other company, they use 103. So system is same, server is same, but clients are different. This is logical partition. For example, 100 is Tata Motors, right? For example, HR department of Tata Motors created some employees in client number 100. In client number 100, let's say it is Tata Motors. Let's say it is Tata Steel, TS. Let's say some employees are created in Tata Motors in client number 100. These employees details, like, is it required to have these details for Tata Steel management? Does this Tata Steel management need to check employees of Tata Motors?
No,
No,
sir.
right? No, right?
Yes,
Tata
sir.
Steel will take care of their employees, their Tata Steel employees. Tata Steel management doesn't need any access to Tata Motors employees, right?
Tata Motors.
Similarly, Chroma employees, like Chroma HR department, do they need access to Tata Motors or Tata Steel employees data?
No required,
No,
sir.
right? They need only their employees data, Tata Chroma employees data, right? So when you create data using a specific client, the data will be available only for that client. The other clients cannot access that data. Okay? The other clients
Yes,
cannot
sir.
access that data. This is called database dependency. Sorry, client dependency, not database. Client dependency. Client dependent and client independent. We have two concepts here: client dependent, client independent. So when the data created in one client should not be available for other client, then we call that property as a client dependent. Client dependent, right? The data created in one client cannot be accessible by other clients. Okay? What is client independent? Client independence means there is some common data. There is some common data which should be accessible for all the companies of Tata Group. Okay?
Yes, sir.
For example, Tata Group will have same holidays. They have list of holidays. They are common for all the companies throughout the Tata Group. That data can be accessed by all the clients, right? Because that is
Yes, sir.
common for all the companies. So that kind of data we can save as database independent. Sorry, not database. Client independent.
Client.
Client independent. That data can be accessed by all the clients. If the data is client independent, that data can be accessed by all the clients. Client independent data. Client dependent data. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
Client independent data can be accessible to all the clients.
All
Client
the
dependent
clients.
data can be accessible to only that particular client.
Or
So what is a client? Client is a logical partition of SAP server. Okay, it's a logical partition. It is not a physical partition. We are separating by clients. Okay, so that each client can create their business data in the same server. Okay,
okay, sir.
but in development perspective, in development system we'll use usually we'll use two clients. One is for development, another one is for technical unit testing.
Testing.
Test.
Okay, test system and production system also have its own clients. Okay, client is common in any system, test, development or production, right? To log in into SAP system, what you need? You need to know the client, username, password, and your language preference. Okay,
Yes, sir.
by default I have client number 800. This is the client which I am using in training systems. So username is some best, and enter the password. Password is case sensitive. Okay, and enter. Click on enter. Language JP is not in the system. Looks like Japanese language configuration is not created in the system. Let's try EN. Enter. So this is the initial screen. This is the initial screen of the SAP. Okay. Now,
Yes, sir.
how to access the applications? How to access the SAP applications? This is shortcut menu. This is shortcut menu. If you click on any application, it will take you that application. This is shortcut. But usually, how we access the application? By using transaction code. By using transaction code. Here we discussed about the programs, right? Application programs, right?
Yes,
Each
sir.
program, we don't need to know the program name to access that application. Each program will contains a transaction code. We need to execute the transaction code to access that program. For example, for ABAP development, SC38. Here in the command prompt, type SC38. SC38 is the transaction code to access ABAP editor. ABAP editor, where we create the programs. What is the transaction code for ABAP editor?
SC38.
SC38. This is the editor we used to create the programs. Here we enter the program name, create, and create our applications. Now I need to open one more session. Currently I am in one session, right? SC38 session, right? ABAP editor, right? Now I need to
Yes, sir.
open a different application. A different application. How can you open? One way is go to here in this menu, new GUI window. New GUI window. It will open one more GUI window. If you go to here, click on new GUI window, it will open one more session. By keeping the current session. But how can we access using a command or transaction code without this shortcut, without using this shortcut? Type /o and the new transaction name SC11. Now, if you type /o and the transaction code name, it will keep the previous transaction code, that is ABAP editor, and it will open new transaction code. Okay, it will open the new transaction code by keeping the existing transaction code. If you use /o and new transaction code name, if you use /n, for example, SC37, what will happen now? If you use /n, it will terminate the current transaction code and opens the new transaction code. It will terminate the current transaction code and opens the new transaction code if you use /n. If you use /o, it will keep the current transaction code and opens the new session.
New
New
transaction.
Okay.
New transaction. New transaction. New
Is everyone clear?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Clear.
Now, so this is a SAP server. Now let's check what is the backend database of this SAP system. What is the backend database of this SAP system? If you go to the some ABAP editor, go to system, go to system menu and status. Go to system menu and status. You can see what is the current client username, previous login time, system time. This is the current system time. Sorry, current system date and time. And this is the transaction code. And this is the program of this transaction code. This is the program name for this transaction code. SAP system details. If you go to SAP system data, what you can find here? Version, the different versions installed in this SAP server. SAP ABA, right? It is the SAP ERP ABAP version 7.5. This is 7.5 version. Now scroll down. Scroll down. So what is this? Host and database. What is host data and database? This is the application server. This is the application server. And this is the database server. This is application server. This is the database server. What is the database? It is using HDB. HDB is nothing but HANA database.
HANA
HANA
database.
database. In database, we'll be having a schema. Schema is kind of partition in databases. You don't need to worry about all these details actually. Okay. If you want to know what is the backend database, you can check in system. Go to the system menu and
Status.
status. You can check the backend database. Okay. And the application server. What is the application server you are using and what is the operating system? Usually, servers won't run on our normal Windows operating systems. They use Linux or some
Linux,
Windows
yes, sir.
server operating systems. Okay. You don't need to worry about any of these details. Clear? This is how you can access your SAP system. So what is the transaction code to create the ABAP programs? SC38. We have another important transaction code that is SC11. SC11. SC11 is nothing but data dictionary. We call it as data dictionary, where by using this SC11 data dictionary, we can access backend database tables. We can check the data inside the backend tables. Okay. We don't directly access the database. We don't need to directly log in into the database. We can use SC11 to access the database tables. It is an interface between our SAP and the database. Okay. By using data dictionary, you can access SAP database tables. Okay. Which are stored in a database layer. Okay. For that, you don't need to log in into database. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
For example, I'll show you one table. Um, KNA1. KNA1 is the standard table. KNA1 is the standard table. It is not the custom table. Custom table. How I am saying that it is not a custom table? Because all the applications or tables or any custom development in SAP will starts with Z or Y.
Why?
It can starts with Z or Y. Any custom development in SAP that should starts with Z or Y. When you are creating a custom program, What should be the starting letter of the program?
Yes.
If you are creating a custom program, what should be the first letter?
Z
Z
or Y.
Y
Letter.
Yeah, if you are
Z
creating,
Then why? Yeah. Then why?
okay, please.
Yeah. Then why?
Someone, please mute. Okay, if you want to create a custom table, if you want to create a custom table, what should be the first letter? That should be Z or Y. Okay, KNA1. Is it a custom table or standard table?
Standard table.
Standard table provided by SAP as part of standard functionality. Select the database table and enter the table name. Click on display. So this is the table. What is this table? General data and customer master. That is the customer master table. This is customer master table. What does this contains? Kunar means customer number. You can see all these field names, right? These field names are relevant to German language because SAP is developed by German, right? Developers from German. So they created all the fields and tables which are close to German language, right? So please go through the descriptions. Kunar means customer number. It is the primary key. I'll explain in detail about primary key and everything. Don't worry. I just want to show how you can access the table in SAP Data Dictionary. So these are all the fields in the table. And if you want to check the data, what is the data that is stored in this table? Click on here, contents. If you want to check any specific customer number, enter the customer number and execute. And if you don't know specific customers, just leave it as it is and execute. So these are the records available in customer master data table. Okay. These are the records available in customer master data table. Customer ID, customer country, name, WART01, I think it is city. WART01 is city, postal code, region, search term, I think it is street. STRAS means street, right? Like that you can access any table data without going to database. Okay. Let me create a simple program. What is the transaction code to create a program? To create programs, what is the transaction code? SC38.
SC38, sir.
Go to the program, ABAP editor. What is the starting letter of the program?
Y or
Z.
Z.
We are creating a custom program. Z, I'll give some name, some meaningful name I'll give. You can give any name, but please make sure giving some meaningful name for the program. By looking at the program name, you should be able to understand what might be the functionality. Okay. Spaces are not allowed, blank spaces are not allowed, hyphens are not allowed. You can use underscores to separate the program name. Okay. You can use underscore. Click on create. Provide the description or title. Here, we need to select type of the program. What is the type of the program? So I'm selecting executable program. We'll discuss different types later. So we should select executable program. Executable program can execute independently, can accept the input and return the output independently. Select executable program and click on save. Here, it will ask for a package. Package is nothing but kind of folder where we store the program. So in projects, we use packages by modules, functional modules, by solutions, right? For now, I'll use local object, local package, some local package. Please observe that if you use local package, right, you cannot transport or you cannot move these changes to test system. These are only local to the development system. For now, I am selecting local object. Select the local object. My program is saved. What is the statements you can observe by default? Report and the program name. This should be the first statement of the program. This will automatically create. This should be the first statement of the program. And this is what is this one? This is commented text. If you want to provide the functionality of the program, you can type here. You can type here. Is this going to execute? No, it will not execute. Okay, it will not execute because it is commented code. It is commented code. Okay, it will not execute. To just provide some details of the program, we use this commented code. Okay, now I'll just try to print something. I'll try to print something. What is the statement to print any data? If you observe here, these are all the keywords in ABAP. Data, constants, parameters, write. Write is the statement which we use to print some data. Okay, let's go to SAP. You can have hints here. You can have syntax hints here when you are typing. Write space first program dot. I've written only one statement. Now, after writing the program, what we need to do? Check the program. The shortcut is Control F2. Check the program. Is there any syntax errors? No syntax errors
No.
found. For example, I have written the incorrect statement. Check the syntax. What it is saying? The statement WRIT is not expected.
Not ex
A correct similar statement is write.
Right.
right.
It will propose the correct statement, correct syntax. Okay. We can simply, if this statement is correct, whatever the proposed statement is correct, simply click here, correct errors. It will automatically correct that syntax. Okay. Or
Sir.
you can fix it yourself. Enter the right keyword. Okay. Check. What is the status of the program? Inactive. You can execute only active programs. You can execute only active programs. Check the program, activate it. You can see a lot of other programs. These are all inactive, created by other guys who is practicing. Select only your program and activate. Now your program is active. Active, right? Now to execute this program, we can use this one, direct processing or F8. You can also press F8 in your keyboard. Click on this. What is the output? First program. What is this one? I think this is program title. This is program title, what we have provided when we are creating it. I'll make it demo program. I did some changes. Again, check and activate and execute. First
Execute.
demo program. Okay. This is the program title. This is how we create the simple program. Okay. Let's say I want to comment something. I want to comment something in the program. What you need to do? Place the cursor. Use control left arrow. Control left arrow to comment this, or simply place a star symbol, asterisk symbol in the starting. Okay. Now, is the statement going to execute? No.
No, sir.
This statement is not going to be executed. Check, activate. No output. Even I am clicking on this, it's not displaying any output because there is no
It is
write
commented.
statement is not executing. What is the purpose of write statement? To display
To
the
print the
output, to print or to display the output. That is the purpose of write statement. Okay. Clear? Check
yes, sir.
and
Clear,
activate.
clear,
Every
sir.
time, whenever you do any change to the program, you need to check the program and activate it. Okay. Clear? Again, you can
Clear,
observe
sir.
Yes,
this
sir. Clear.
pretty printer button, right? This is to format the program. For example, I've written in some incorrect format. This is nothing to do with syntax. but look and feel of the program. Click on Pretty Printer. It will align the code in proper order. Okay, that is Pretty Printer. Clear?
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay, we'll stop here, and tomorrow we'll go in detailed about each each statement in ABAP, and we'll write some example programs. Okay, and also we'll discuss about data types. Today I want to provide some overview. Okay.